So tonight's episode features a legend in the music industry. When I say legend, I mean legend. And more so not from being out front in terms of notoriety, but certainly the ability and the talent really to make some of your favorite artists sound as incredible as they possibly can. And this is the thing that most people don't necessarily know when they're thinking about the music industry and what it takes in order to make an artist sound clear, and what it also means in order to be a part of a supergroup. So my guest tonight is none other than Andrew, the Drew Williams of Public Enemy fame. You all know him. Welcome to the show, Drew. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm keeping it moving. And how are
Okay.
you?
I am fantastic. I am fantastic. So thank you for joining me. I'm so honored to have you on the show. You are legendary. So if people don't know how legendary you are, we're going to talk about it tonight. So they can find you on Facebook by looking you up as the Drew, or they can find you on Instagram at Microphonephine. Are you active on Twitter or Instagram and Facebook, your primary social media handles?
Thank you for having me. And yes, we have Microphonephine, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The YouTube channel, The Microphonephine.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe.
Right, right. And so, okay, let's get to it. So, where are you from? No, we're not going to start with the easy stuff. We're not going to start with that. Let's start with something a little bit more interesting. If someone doesn't know who you are, they're meeting you for the first time, what are 3 words that you would say best describe you?
I don't know. Me,
Three
I, and
adjectives.
myself. Me, I, and myself. What you see is what you get.
Okay,
The
so
truth.
real. That could be one of them. Okay, what else you got?
I guess. Real, and more real.
Okay, fair enough. So tell us where you're from. Where are you from? And then what were you like as a kid growing up? Was music always in your spirit as a small child? But let's start with where you're from, obviously, because they can hear it in your voice, but people need to know.
What do they hear in my voice?
They hear that accent. They hear that accent.
When we overseas and somebody asks me that, I usually tell them I'm from all over. I never died nowhere yet. So right now I'm from right here.
Okay.
No, but
Okay.
I'm from Roosevelt, New York, exit 21, Southern State. Big up.
Okay. Okay. And
hmm
so were you born and raised there until you finished high school, or did you ever move around?
I moved around, but basically I was Roosevelt.
Okay. And so are do you have siblings?
Yes.
Okay. So where do you fall?
I have
Oldest,
brother.
youngest, in the middle?
You could call me the middle.
Okay. And so growing up as a kid, did you always have a love for music, or did it evolve?
Yeah, yeah. It was my house was like the church. The doors was always open. You was into music, whatever, coming from Roosevelt, you had to be into something.
Okay.
So, my father started teaching me to play the bass guitar, but it was hurting my hands. So he taught me how to play the drums. So that's where, the music started off with the family.
And how old were you at that point when he first introduced you to instruments?
I was about 5.
Oh, wow. With a bass guitar?
Man, I give it up to guitar players because this right here, it hurts. But the drums, I was cool with it. So he taught my brother Joe how to play the bass. I
Okay.
come from a singing family.
And so what you said, your house was like the church. So was there a deep involvement in the church, or it was the gathering place? Or maybe
My
both.
father was into music and he was the father to all the kids in the community.
Hmm.
So he
And
would,
so,
okay,
no, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
he would talk to everybody, music, whatever you was into, he introduce you to Jesus.
Okay. And so at 5 years old, and when you transitioned from guitar to the drums, Was that your instrument of choice, or did you learn how to play other instruments as well?
Later on, I learned how to fiddle with other instruments because I have a studio. So, I get on the keyboard and figure out notes myself, and. But my whole family is nothing but singers. My brother-in-law is doing Bible study right now. And I'm out in the studio doing this.
I got you. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm talking to Andrew the Drew Williams of Public Enemy. Obviously, if you haven't already done so, definitely make sure that you follow him on his social media at Microphonephine. So now you coming from a musical family, mostly singers. Was that something that you were interested in, or were you more involved in the instruments? In other words, can you sing?
No. No. I'll put the music together. I'll produce all day, but singing, nah.
Okay. And so now at that point, we're into the, let's say, late 80s, early 90s, as far as music is concerned, as far as the evolution of hip hop. When did you know that your talent was for sound, the creation of sound, music from that perspective versus being out front, being the singer? When did you know that that was your thing?
Let's take it back to the top. All
Okay.
right. In grade school, we had a band, me and my brothers. That led on to high school. In high school, we was doing our thing, playing instruments. We used to actually cut class, sneak into the auditorium, and put on our own assemblies for ourselves. Till one day we got busted by the principal.
Mm-hmm.
But then he opened the door and he let us do all the coronations, the parades, whatever was going on at the school, and they could use us. He just let us do it.
Oh, wow. So what grade were you? You said grade school. So how old are we talking at that point?
That was like 7th, 8th grade. We come from the same place where Eddie Murphy. He used to sing with us. Then he started doing
Get out of
comedy.
here. Really?
Yeah. It's a long story. We're gonna try to get it in the book. But yeah, we used to break in the auditorium and put on our own shows for us, till we got caught. Then it was Eddie Murphy, Mitchell Kaiser, and company. We was the band. So then the singing thing didn't work out because I told you I come from a family of not singers, but they sang.
Right.
No effects, no, straight up, they get down.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts to, incorporating the singing with his comedy, but we pushed that to the side and he started doing the comedy and we was the band behind him.
Mm-hmm. So no disrespect to Eddie, he tried it at one point with his album, but could he sing then?
Like I said, I come from a family singers. Everybody except for me, my brother Joe, Mike, Ronell, everybody. Sing.
I got you. Okay, so for those of you tuning in, Lonzel, Asha, others from wherever, make sure you drop a heart, comment, let us know where you're watching from, rather. And if you have questions, make sure you drop them in the comments so that we can see them and address them as we go forward with the show. So, okay, so now we're grade school. You're doing your own thing as far as that, and because of that, y'all are like doing all this stuff for the community, for the school, that type of thing. Well, for the school so much, not so much the community. Is that fair to say?
No, we was doing stuff for the community too.
Okay.
Because Chuck's mother and Hank Shockley's mother, they pushed us.
Mm-hmm.
So, they got us doing things in the community, the Roosevelt Day, all other stuff.
And so, is that where you first met Hank and Shock? Was through grade school, or you met them later?
In grade school, because they had an organization called Spectrum City.
Mm-hmm.
Before PE was PE, they was DJs, Spectrum City. So they used to do all the college parties, and we as kids in high school used to sneak into the college parties to support them. Then one time, Hank said, "You know what? Y'all bring the drums and Griff play the percussion, and I want y'all to get down while we get down." Now we had a college party, and the DJ Keith was doing his thing, and all of a sudden we breaking down with percussions. People loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So that turned into the Public Enemy situation.
Okay, and how old were you at that point? How old were you guys at that point?
Public Enemy, that was years after.
Okay, but
You
you had
know,
said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we had an R&B group that, Hank and Chuck used to take us around. Donnie Iron wanted to sign us. We did a song on Terminator's first album, Valley of the Jeep Beats. It's
Hmm.
an answer to Lisa Stansfield, been around the world and can't find my baby.
Oh,
We answered
wow.
the back. It's called You Don't Have to Look No Further. And my brothers sang.
Right, right.
So, that jumped off. Then it was the Public Enemy situation. Professor Griff had an organization called Unity Force,
Okay.
where we used to do the security at the parties that Hank, Keith, and Chuck used to do. Because back in those days, you couldn't go to parties. It was always somebody fighting. So we did the security for that. It was called Unity Force. So he took the image of Unity Force and turned it into S1W.
Hmm.
Public Enemy situation came about.
So in high school, you said that you all were sneaking into the college parties, and of course, that's where you were spreading your wings, if you will. Um, but how did you evolve as an artist during that time, particularly in high school? How did you see yourself evolving?
We was just always into music. We was doing the band thing in grade school, and then in high school, we had the worst equipment, but we made it sound like the best. You know, we didn't have a lot, but my father pushed us to do everything, be the best.
Okay. And you had said earlier that I think you said Chuck and Hank's mom really kind of pushed you guys. What did you mean by that?
If you want to see the backbone of Public Enemy, it was Hank Shockley's mother and Chuck D's mother, of
That's
course,
deep.
and my mother. Yes.
How is that? Was it just because she was pushing, they were pushing for you to do more, or how is that?
To do more and get awareness of yourself and who you are, they pushed us.
Hmm. And so how old were you when the three of you all first met, though? Were you still in grade school, or were you older? Well, obviously it was in high school at least by that point, but when did you all first meet?
Who?
You, Chuck and Hank.
That was in high school. In
Okay.
high school, you know.
Did you, and that was that because of the love of music?
Yeah, music brought a lot of us together. Yeah, because we was doing the band thing, and Chuck and Hank used to take us around to different places to try to get us signed.
Okay. And then you said at some point that, and I can't remember who you said it was, they wanted to sign you early on.
Yeah, they wanted to sign us. I think it was Columbia. That didn't work out. So, we went back on tour and that didn't pan out.
Okay.
But my family, we've been into music since we was babies.
Right. Right. And so as the group comes together, what we all know is Public Enemy, you all have been together for years prior to that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we all came up together. Spectrum City, the WBAU, the radio station. Yeah,
And so how did Public Enemy, as we know it as a supergroup, like how did that come together?
I don't know what you mean by supergroup. It's
Come
like
on
when
now.
people say,
Come on now.
"Oh, you're stars." No, stars are in the sky. We just have a job that fortunately take us around the world and perform.
Tell that to a hip hop head, Drew. We gonna call
All
it a
day,
super
every
group.
day.
We gonna call it a super group now. Doggone it, that's what we gonna call it. But what the group then, the hip hop icons that we know as Public Enemy, how did that evolve? And who came up with the name?
That was a Chuck D thing. In the Constitution, is still to this day, Miss Lawyer, you should know this. They consider black people 1/4 of a human being,
3/5.
3/5 of a human being to this day. So we not the friend, we the enemy. Public Enemy.
But who came up with the name? Was it Chuck?
Yes,
Okay.
Chuck and Hank.
Okay. And so at that point, as you guys are starting to evolve, I think the thing that was so powerful about Public Enemy, especially during that age, was the consciousness. I mean, just hip hop was just different then anyway. But how did you see your impact within the group as far as your role, especially when you all started to go on tour and people were just, the music was really starting to catch hold to Black people in general?
It took hold to people in general.
Well,
Because
I'm
overseas
talking
is
about us. We can talk about everybody else, but we got to talk about what Public Enemy means to us, Drew. You can say that for
okay.
everybody else, but I'm talking about what Public Enemy means to us, especially
Okay.
that grew up listening to that music. Give me some deference, then we can talk about everybody else. We can talk about everybody else. But for you and your role, for people who may not know, who are just tuning in, or they may not know the history with Public Enemy, what was your role within the group?
S1W. I started off as an S1W, then an interrogator, then the sound assassin. Because
Okay, and for people who, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we used to do shows in like we was at the Spectrum in Philly, and certain songs, Public Enemy songs, come on. People start to they really lose it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the stage and I'm going, why they not moving? Something is wrong because you getting hit in the head with a hit. So I jumped off the stage, went to the soundboard, changed some frequencies, and
Mm-hmm.
it was over.
How so?
How so? You
Mm-hmm.
felt the low end, you felt the mids, you felt the frequencies, you felt it. It was
Mm-hmm.
Public Enemy. You felt the 808s was coming through, knocking you.
Ooh. And when was that? Well, I don't want to take it back to what year, but when was that? When it really, that was like, okay, I'm about to come in here and fix this. When was that?
That was a long time ago because the spectrum is too down now.
Oh, wow. So you were what, late teens, early 20s?
I was somewhere around there.
Okay. And so as the group evolved, and some people may not remember the S1Ws. Who were they?
Security of the first world, because they say we're third world people. So S1Ws were put there to show never again will we be robbed of our name, culture, or God.
Mm. And so what did that mean as far as the group was concerned? Because from the outside looking in, we would see the S1Ws, but we didn't, it was just, it was hard not to get caught up in everything that Public Enemy was. You know what I'm saying? So for someone who may not understand the importance of the S1Ws at that time, why were they so important to the group?
It was a part of the group, the militant part of the group that goes along with the whole image of Public Enemy.
Okay. But I'm gonna ask you to dig a little bit deeper. But why was that so important? Because everybody could see the image and then they could misunderstand what the whole purpose of the S1Ws were for. But why was that so important for what made Public Enemy Public Enemy?
It was an image in the group, security of the first world.
Mm-hmm.
Strong, militant brothers that will take it to you by any means necessary.
Mm-hmm. And so you said that it went from there to, and then I missed what you said before you became the sound assassin, the interrogator, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I don't remember that. Now, how did that
Don't,
role change?
look, don't worry about it. It's a Chuck D thing. Get him on the interview next week. it's an
Okay.
inside group thing.
Okay, we're gonna leave that alone. We'll leave that alone then. Okay. So then you become how people know you now as the sound assassin. And there's a story that I read when I was doing some research on you about the microphone and all of that. But you were the sound assassin long before that. So tell the viewers like what that meant when your role changed, as far as like making people feel the music versus just hearing the music.
A lot of times when we was on tour, the sound guys, if you're not the headlining group, the sound people don't care about you. So, Chuck was one of them cats that was like, I want everything to be right. Drew, make sure their sound is straight. Okay, fine. We Drew took it over. So, everybody they had good songs, good hits, but everybody got the same quality of sound as the
Mm.
headlining group.
And so why is when you're okay, so for people who can't like conceptualize that because they just kind of see the board and they don't really know what it means, they just know what they hear. Who gave you the name?
The Sound Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
That name was picked up on the road. I believe it was Flavor's cousin Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody kept saying, "Drew, you doing your thing. You doing your thing. You're killing them. You're the Sound Assassin."
Mm-hmm.
That was one name. It's
Okay.
another name I got. Only Ice-T calls me Public Enemy #2.
I love it. I love it. So when you guys were touring on the road, what do you have what's one of your favorite moments when you were out on the road touring, when you knew that, beside what you've already commented on, like when you knew like the sound, like people were feeling it in their soul? Like when did you know?
When you see the reaction on their face and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's enjoying it.
And so the picture that we use for the promo has a crowd behind you. Where was that picture taken?
That was in Manchester. We was with, I forgot the name of the group. We did 3 nights there. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
like maybe 80,000, 100 some thousand was sold out for 3 nights with
Mm-hmm.
Prodigy.
And so as far as the group was concerned, from your perspective, what do you think were some of the things that caused the fracture, as far as the group, people wanting to do their own thing and all of that? What do you think part of that reason was?
What do you mean by people wanting to do their own thing?
Well, I mean, at least from our perspective, there seemed to be some sort of issue, and I could be wrong, but I'm just telling you what the perception is, the issue between Flav and Chuck. And as far,
It's no issue. It's like, do you have brothers and sisters?
mm-hmm.
Do y'all argue sometime?
Oh yeah, we do.
See, it's the same thing. The family is good. The family is tight. Everything's all right. All right.
All right. So when are we getting some more music then? We waiting.
That's a good question. I will talk to Mr. Chuck later on this week.
Yeah, tell him, like, come on, man, we
He's
need
always
this.
putting something out.
True. Now what do you think, or why do you think hip hop kind of shifted when it got into the late 90s and early 2000s, when you had less, how should I say, conscious rappers and more that seemed to be more commercialized? You see what I'm saying? Like it was just like even the lyrics change, where it's less consciousness and uplifting community and more commercialized to perhaps reach a broader audience, if you will.
Why do I think that happened?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna stay on neutral ground. People do what people want to do. They got to do what they got to do to survive.
I got
So,
you.
if that wasn't their thing, then when we came into the game, wasn't nobody. What is that irritating noise? They played that wah 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 through the whole show. First coming
Mm-hmm.
out, people
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand that. That was the tour with the Beastie Boys when they had the girls in the cages dancing, and then it was like Public Enemy. What is Public? But they start listening.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite tour back in the day? The one that's probably the most memorable.
Do you know how many tours I've been on? It's been like over 140.
But you
Different.
gotta have some favorites, Drew. I mean, there's got to be a couple that's like, oh my God, this was the best, or one of the best.
I don't know, because we have fun. It's like we have fun wherever we go. It's a family. I loved Africa, going to Ghana. I loved, when I went to Australia.
Mm-hmm. And so,
Ireland, I really love. I would have moved to Ireland back in the days.
really, what was
Yeah.
it about that tour in Ireland that made you even consider that?
It was just like Australia. It's a different world. It's a total different world. It's like none of the stuff that existed over here didn't exist over there then.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Um, so Asha asked, do you remember when they didn't want to open up the planetarium or the astronomy center in high school. That sounds like that. Do you know what she did?
I don't know
Nope.
nothing about that.
Okay. Sis, clarify.
You need to get an interview with Chuck. Chuck can tell you in 1985, September 26th, we was at this venue. Drew, you remember that, don't you? You remember that, Chuck? I don't remember that. Yes, you do. You remember that? Come on, Drew.
All right, well, we'll talk about that after we get off, after we come off live, because we got to definitely make that happen. So you have worked with all different types of artists, from Moni Love to De La Soul to, of course, Ice-T. One of my favorites, which I didn't know that you worked with, was Leaders of the New School. I thought they were so underrated as far as artists were concerned. You worked with Latifah. I mean, you just worked with such a tremendous variety of artists. Did you find that working with them and their styles made your approach to their music different? Or because I think a lot of people may not understand like why a sound engineer or a sound person is so important. Obviously, like how people hear the music is important, but you're working with different people who have a different style. So does your style adjust to them, or is it always fundamentally about the sound and the music that way? You know what I'm saying?
It adjusted to them, and it's about making their sound with it. So picture this, right? You know Frankie Beverly and Maze, right?
Of course.
Before I Let Go, picture you going to a concert and you can't hear nothing. It's like it sounds like little transistor radios. You're gonna be upset. You're gonna blame it on Frankie, but it ain't Frankie because you couldn't hear. It's the sound.
And so how do you adjust then for the different artists that you work with then? And I'm not talking about necessarily for at a concert. I'm talking about the work that you did with them outside of like the concert space for recording, when you're doing soundtracks and all of that.
Soundtracks, recording stuff I didn't do. I do work at the church, Perfecting Faith Church, 311 North Main Street, Children Freeport, Pastor Donnie McKirkland. On Wednesdays, we have the food pantry. If y'all need some food, come on down. All right?
All right.
Oh, she got it. We didn't even have to go there with her. She said, all right.
Okay, but with the artists that you've worked with over the years, I don't want to ask you if you have a favorite because I know you're not going to answer that. But what about perhaps some of the most memorable artists that you've worked with, as far as seeing their craft come full circle with the sound and the music associated with that?
I'm still cool. I'm cool with everybody. Anybody to tell you about Drew, I'm cool with everybody.
I got you. So let's talk about the mic. So let's get to the heart of it. So let's talk about the mic, where Microphonephine comes from, which I absolutely love that you named it. You did the play on the spelling, because my mom's name was Josephine too. I was like, oh my God, we're getting ready to bond. That's so cool. But tell us about the mic, and why that's changing the game.
Why? Okay, first of all, Microphonephine. Fiend is spelled Phine. I named it after my mother. Her name is Josephine. And me being a sound guy, gospel, rap, reggae, and R&B, because I was with Jeanne when their first album came out, Hey Mr. DJ, and that little swinging stuff. I noticed everybody would grab the mic right at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded muffled and distorted, but you know, everybody's doing it. Everybody, reggae, rock, everybody. So I was on tour with Ice Cube. I didn't tell you that story.
No, please do.
Here's how it went down. Ice Cube was doing a show at the Apollo. So he said, Drew, I need you. You busy? I said, bro, if you need me, I'm there. So he did 2 shows at the Apollo. People was throwing money on the stage. You know, the Apollo's not that. If you ain't right, forget the Sandman. They taking you off the stage.
Wow.
Exit left. So, you know, people was throwing money on the stage. He did 2 shows back to back. He tore it up. So after the show, he said, yo, what you doing for the next couple weeks? Maybe like a month. I said, bro, I told you, if you need me, I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
So they rode the tour bus from the Apollo, Harlem, all the way out to Roosevelt. So I'm in the house packing. Him and the lynch mob got off the bus. and they was playing football in the streets with the kids around here while I was packing. So we
Mm-hmm.
got on the road and we started traveling. We was in Cleveland, Ohio, at the amphitheater. They ripped that down now too. It was the first time them cats from the West Coast saw snow. They lost their mind. It was, they saw it on TV, but it was the first time. It was snowball fights in the venue, on the bus, everywhere.
That's so awesome.
So that night, Chuck happened to be there. Him and Cube did a song called Endangered Species. Y'all go look that up now because it was done in 1990 and it's still relevant today.
Endangered
so
species. Got it.
Chuck said, this is where the story gets confused. I keep telling Chuck to take that Ginkgola. So Chuck says he's in town. He want to do his part. So I said, I was walking into the stage from the soundboard while he was doing his part, his last song. Security stopped. I stopped. The microphone hit him in his mouth and chipped his tooth. If you go to the About page, no, not the About page. When you go to the website, the first video was with Chuck. He tells the story. He says Cube was in front of him and I was behind him. But I'm saying, Chuck, if the Lynch Mob and Cube is on stage and they doing the song, why would he come out to the audience and you and him walk to the stage? Long story short, the microphone hit him in his mouth, chipped his tooth. I went back to the hotel that night and designed the microphone. Because I know the sound man for everybody. Everybody, preachers, teachers, next show you watch, award show, whatever, next preacher come on, as soon as they get into it, they grab the mic at the top. I fixed the problem. It's called Microphonephine. Boop, boop. See?
Okay.
This is my working prototype.
That's so dope, Drew. Show that again. Wait a minute. We need a better look at that. That is dope. That's so dope. That's
so now
dope.
you can grab it, you can cup it, turn it up, no feedback, no distortion. We all good.
And so, but with your hand being able to be up top like that, it doesn't distort the sound, even though that part of the top of the mic is covered. That's fascinating.
I think the first thing you said, the second thing was I was the sound assassin. Been doing it since I was a baby. My father put it in us. The sound is very important. We must hear. It's very important. So, if somebody grabbed the mic and it sounded like, you're not hearing.
True.
So
very true.
I fixed the problem September 1990 out on the road with Ice Cube. When the microphone hit Chuck in the mouth and chipped his tooth. Go to the website. You'll see the video. Chuck tells the story. I see give a shout out. Then when you go to the About page, you see a video with EPMD. Then there's the whole story about Microphonephine.
Okay. And so if they go to the website, which is microphonephine.com, that's where all of the information is there. So the problem was fixed in 90. Where are you now in terms of getting this out to the people, basically?
Looking for investors right now. I got my papers in 2018, the first one. Last year, I just got the other two. So I have 3 patents on one mic.
Okay.
So now I'm looking for investors so we can get it to market. I got everything lined up. I got the manufacturers, distribution, promotion, Amazon. Everything is in play, ready to go. I just need you to go to the bank and get that certified check and send it to Drew. All right.
All right. But look, y'all, I put the Cash App up there. Don't send the Cash App. Don't do that. If you're looking to invest, well, technically you can. I'm just saying from a legal perspective, you don't want to do it by Cash App. I'm just saying. But
if they want to donate, they could donate.
But if they want to donate, yes, of course. But definitely go to the website, which is microphonephine.com, because the video that you mentioned as far as Chuck telling the story and the story of the mic is up there as well. They can also purchase the t-shirt up there, if I remember correctly, to help support it as well. Is that right? Is a t-shirt on the website?
Yeah, not the smart shirts, because we have the world's first smart shirts and smart masks now. That's not up there yet. But it will be soon. Aloha.
So, but I do want, if you're tuning in or if you're catching a replay, I definitely want you to go make sure that you go to the website for sure and to check it out, because this really will be a game changer. And of course, if you or somebody you know is interested in becoming an investor, can they reach out to you that way?
Look, they can hit me up, email me, let me know. I'm ready to go. My people are ready to go. We just need that bag of money.
Okay.
And we're going to go. So think about that tomorrow on your lunch break to stop by the bank and like, Drew, I got you. Here it is.
I got you. And so if they're not already following you, make sure that they can find you on Facebook at the Microphone Fiend, and of course on IG at Microphone Fiend. So smart masks, smart shirts. Let's talk about it, because people might not even know that it's out there like that. So let's talk about it, Drew. Let's go.
Okay, we have the smart shirts. This Microphone Fiend shirt, but it has a chip in it.
Okay.
Scan it with your phone, and everything about Microphone Fiend will pop up. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the story about how I named it after my mother. Everything will pop up. Now check this out. You could be out somewhere and you can take a picture and you can upload it to the shirt or the mask.
Man, get out of here. Go
You
ahead.
can
Now
put
you
your
play too
own
much.
music on there. Yeah, smartconnection.com.
Man, you play too much. You play too much. Say that again. I can do what now with my shirt? What now? I can upload what?
You can upload your own stuff, your own pictures, your own videos up to it.
To the shirt.
The shirt or the mask.
And so is there like regular mask that we're all wearing now? So is there the chip is embedded in the mask? Come on now. Come on now. We got to see that. We got to see that.
It would be nice, right?
Right. Guys, all hype. We need to see that.
All right, you go ahead and sing a song and give me 2 seconds, and I'm going.
You can't sing, and neither can I. Oh no. That would be none of.
Try it.
You got a second, so go. No, you got a second. You got a second. You want to go? Yes, you got a second. All right. So
while taking that second, tell them to check out the website. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So make sure that y'all, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you check out the website, which is microphonefiend.com. And also, you can catch up with him on Cash App at the Drew MP. Now, while he is going to go and grab that, now I want to definitely give you a heads up for next week's show, which is super important, because we will be live at 8:00 and we're going to be talking about COVID-19 1 year later. Because about this time last year, I did a live show with the assistant county manager from Mecklenburg County, Anthony Trotman, and we were talking about COVID in that space. Now, this is, of course, when COVID first, we were just in lockdown and all of that. So we're going to be talking about that 1 year later with him and Dr. Raynard Washington, who is the deputy health director for the health department. And I'm going to have 3 special guests who have survived COVID. We're going to be talking and disseminating facts and not fiction as it relates to vaccines. So definitely save the date for next Wednesday live at 8:00. Boom. Perfect timing. Okay, then. All right. So smart shirt, smart mask. Wow.
You can't say all right. You got to say I. Yes. See? Microphone Fiend, smart shirt. There's the chip.
Wow.
Scan it with your phone. We got the hoodies, we got the shirt, we have the Microphone Fiend smart mask.
Oh, that is so cool. And you can wash it?
You can wash it, you can dry. I think I done washed mine about 25 times already.
Holy cow. And so, and it doesn't break down, doesn't damage the chip or any of that?
You can do everything. You can wash it, dry it. Just don't leave the hot iron on it and you good.
Right. So where can people get that?
It's coming soon. Coming real soon.
Okay.
You can go to smartconnection.com. And if you want your own shirts, it'll be 15% off. Just use the code The Drew just for your show tonight.
Okay.
No, we don't say okay. We say
I gotta say it and turn my head to the side. No, I gotta say it that way. All right. Okay.
And you know what's funny about that? You know, because with a lot of people that don't know, when the Public Enemy shows get started, after we leave sound check, I usually do a sound check before the show. So either me and DJ Lord and me and the band to get out there and just get down for about 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I got the I from.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I used to do a little something and say, all right. So I came home a couple years ago and my mother said, you know where you got that from? I said, yeah, I was on tour. I know where I got it from. I was there. She said, no, you didn't. She played me a tape of my father when he was doing his rehearsals, teaching the choir songs. And he used to say that. All right.
I love it. And
I
it's
didn't know.
stuck.
Yeah.
And it's stuck for sure. So what's next? So what's next for you? Obviously, Mike is coming out. Get those investors popping. Obviously, the smart shirt, all of that. But what else is next for you on the horizon from the music space? Who are you working with now, and what's next?
Well, kind of late for Bible study tonight, but
we're gonna wrap it up.
oh no, it's cool. I already talked to him. It's all right. But I'm getting the mic together, and it's not just the microphone. Microphonephine is a movement. It's a whole lot of stuff coming up under the umbrella. It will be a part of history once again, just like Public Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
The mic.
And so, but are you still doing sound work for artists and touring as well?
There's no tours going on. You can catch me at 311 North Main Street, Freeport, Perfecting Faith Church, Pastor Donnie McKirk, Sunday mornings.
And how long have you been their sound engineer?
About 18 years.
Oh my goodness.
That's family. Like I said, I come from a musical family, and my house was like the church. He was one of them cats that was into music, so it's like my brother. So he was here doing the piano thing and singing and all that.
Outstanding. So, okay. So as we wrap up, so I want to make sure that people know how they can get in touch with you. If you missed it earlier in the show, or if you're catching the replay, make sure that you find him on Facebook at the Microphone Fiend. You can find him on Instagram at the Microphone Fiend. Of course, like I said before, please make sure that you go to the website to check it out, because the technology and the design alone is just dope. So that's just incredible. I can't wait to see that hit the market. And of course, Cash App is the Drew MP if you want to drop a donation for sure. So Drew, at this point, what I always do as we wrap up the show, I have a segment called So if we were actually in studio, like if the world was open, like there would be a whole bunch of visual things going on, as far as we're having a conversation. So is 2 questions. Can't really think about the answer. It's just random stuff. You ready?
Let's go for it.
Okay. So, well, let me ask you this first. No, we're just going to just ask you straight up. So, Marvel or DC Comics?
Neither one of them. I was into martial arts all my life. Professor Griff.
Okay.
Music.
Okay, so let me ask the question differently. If you could be any superhero, whether it's a DC or a Marvel character, who would you choose and why?
I would choose me, the Microphone Fiend, the superhero. Huh?
But sir, I'm gonna need you to answer the question. I know that you're a superhero, Drew,
Microphone Fiend,
but
superhero.
You're not a superhero on Marvel or DC Comics. So I'm talking about
what Marvel got on? Marvel ain't got nothing on Microphone Fiend. All right.
Nah, not I.
I used to like Aquaman because he was under the water and he could talk to the fish and thing. And then it was Spider-Man.
And see, that wasn't hard. That was not hard. See, all right.
You talking to a cat that came up in, martial arts, all of that Marvel stuff, that was to the left. And I went to school for cooking and baking. So I bake, I cook, in martial arts, gymnastics, music.
So you can fight and throw down on a cupcake.
Look, I don't do the fighting thing no more, but we still bakes it up.
Okay, fair enough. All right, last question. If you could be any animal, what animal would you choose and why?
What kind of question is that?
Because it's my segment, and so you go answer it.
He gonna take it in hip hop, right? I right now I'm getting the spirit of my brother Mick Benson. If I could be one of the animals in the world, I'd rather be a squirrel, sit on the world. I
All
would
right.
be me. I can't be
Okay.
nothing else but me.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So thank you so much, Drew. It's been such a pleasure. And if you are catching this towards the end, or if you didn't catch the first part of the show, the replay is going to be available within minutes after we come off the live. So definitely make sure you share it. You can certainly share it from YouTube directly. You can share it from Facebook. If you haven't, of course, already done so, make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow at all things at the Convo Pod Show. And in case you missed it, you definitely need to tune into the live show next week, because we're talking about COVID 1 year later, separating fact from fiction. My special guests are going to be Teddy Andrews, Kia Ford, and Kelly Eves, who are all COVID survivors, who are going to tell us their stories. And they have incredible stories because they got it at different stages of the pandemic. And we're going to be talking about all of the facts surrounding where we are now with two people, Dr. Washington and Anthony Trotman, who will absolutely keep it real. So we're going to be talking about all of that on next week's show live here at 8 o'clock. And of course, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Microphone. Is it Microphonephine also, the YouTube channel?
The
The
Microphone
Microphone
Fiend
Fiend.
YouTube, and Fiend is spelled Phine. And I will wait for your call to tell me that the check's on the way, Drew. Let's get it going. And everybody out there listening, we're going to do a part two, because we're going to get into depth about a lot of things that you don't know. All right?
I
All
I meant
right.
that. I
One
meant
love.
that for real. All right, y'all. So listen, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow. Once again, if you're not already following Drew, make sure you do so. Make sure, if you haven't already done so, check out the website. And if you have the ability to invest, you definitely need to consider it, because what you saw tonight is going to be a major, major game changer. Drew, thank you. It has been
Thank
an
you.
absolute pleasure. We will be talking about part 2 very soon. Make sure that you tune in next week. Share this, of course, and everybody have a fantastic evening. Night, y'all.